August 20th agenda setting meeting here today on August the 13th. Members of the City Board, are there any questions on the M1 resolution addition? Seeing none. Is there any questions on, as we see there's a withdrawal of item number 11, are there any questions on the consent agenda? Any questions on the consent agenda? You got it? There's no questions on the consent agenda. We'll now, items number, hold on one second. Director Pierce, we need you, just got to tap it, and I'll get to it. All right, Director Wyrick.
Could I have a presentation on item 17?
All right, and
item 19, I think that one, we asked for it. It was deferred to today, so probably, I know Director Adcock's got a bunch of questions about that. And another one is item 20 and item 23.
all right, and Vice Mayor Webb, did you have any?
Yes, I had some items to be separate, please.
Which items?
You may have said that 11 was withdrawn.
Well, 11 is withdrawn.
Okay, item number
jumping?
14 to be separate,
Do you need some help?
and item 18. So 14 and 18.
There's two levers. I don't know.
All right, we will make 14 and 18 separate, so no need for any questions. On 14 and 18, we'll have them separate. Mr. Jordan, if you'll go over those planning items.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
1 second, Mr.
Yes,
Director
sir.
Pierce, if you'll tap on your.
Did you say 23?
Director,
Yes.
well, you got to tap it one time, Director Pierce.
Yes.
All right.
There's not a 23.
Many things.
I said 20.
Director Pierce,
And
I need you to
said-
tap it. Just tap it and then leave it alone.
Yeah, 23, right there.
I'm missing one page.
It's
All right, you're on.
5224
When we have
Stagecoach.
this many things that people ask for, could the presenter say, we're going to talk about X, Y, and Z, so I know where I'm looking?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, board members, mayor. Item number 17 is the first one, I believe, that Director Wyrick had asked for a presentation on. And this is Z9987. The owner of the .5756 acre property located at 9425 Interstate 30 is requesting that the property be reclassified from R2 Single Family District to C4 Open Display District. The Planning Commission voted 7 yes, 0 no, and 4 absent, and staff recommended approval. And this is located on the service road, and it is basically one of the last pieces on the service road that's zoned residential. And the applicant actually owns the property that is to the west of this, and it is a C4 property as well. So we assume that they will be taking that into the property that they already have. So they're just trying to make it more in line with what is currently there.
Okay. That probably works. I'm okay with that. I think. Okay.
All right, item number 19.
Okay. Item number 19 is Z6911-A, and this is a mixed-use development. This has been deferred twice. The applicant is requesting that the 19.78 acre property located at the south side of Baseline Road be rezoned from I-1 Industrial Park District to PCD, Planned Commercial Development, to allow for a mixed-use commercial development located in Ward 7. The Planning Commission voted 10 yes, 0 no, and 1 absent, and staff recommended approval on this. The applicants have been here for the past few meetings. I know they've heard all of the questions that have been raised. I've spoken with them a few times. They know that they need to provide what answers they need to provide, and I just recently told them that they would, some of the directors would like these questions answered in writing, and I believe the applicants have agreed to do that.
Mayor, I also have a question on this one.
I just have a couple, and then I'll let Joan ask her questions. Hers were about the food truck courts and those situations there. She had some good questions a couple of weeks ago. There's a location on the sketch or on the map that reflects I'm trying to find it, which sketch it is. It's not coming up. It's a smaller, maybe 600 square foot location inside the food court. And I think it shows restrooms. And it's also a location where they're going to sell alcoholic beverages. And I think the ABC says that if you're within 1,000 feet of a church, you're not able to get a permit for that. But my question on this, I know that's a permitting thing through the ABC that they'll have to work through. But my question is that a reason to hold up the approval on a development awaiting the ABC's decision, or do we typically go ahead and move those forward with?
I think that,
He's got a restroom and something else there also.
Right.
So,
well, they've labeled that concessions, so if they do move forward with that, and they don't get ABC approval to be able to sell alcohol, it will be concessions. So they'll be selling sodas and Snickers and
okay.
and other things like that, I would assume.
Are you aware of the permitting rules for ABC mixed drinks close to schools or churches? I know right next door is Little Rock Church, and I've talked to them. They have a lot of concerns about the fact that this is going to be open, and they have kids in, they have a school, private school, and a church. Are you aware of what the rules are for the ABC?
I'm unaware of what the rules for the ABC is in a situation like this. I do believe that there is a rule that it has to be, and I don't know if it's just a liquor store, if it's, package sales like that, it has to be 1,000 feet from a church or school, or there is some distance requirements. I don't know if this would be maybe one of the ABCs, like picnic permits or something like that. Someone like if Stone's Throw Brewery wanted to go and they wanted to sell alcohol at a festival, I think that they have that ability to do that. So there are different requirements, different permits that you can get. But to answer your question, I don't know specifically in this case.
Okay. Well, I said 1,000 feet, and somebody down here was shaking their head no, so I just wanted to get clarification if I could get it. We had a meeting with the applicant. It's been maybe a month ago, 3 weeks ago, and we talked about the hours of operation. And unless it's been changed, I think that they were going to be open, the food court was going to be open until 8:30 at night. I don't know if that's changed from the original application or not, but when I talked to the applicant, he indicated that he wasn't clear if that's what he wanted to do. He just kind of wanted to see how the business went and that kind of thing. But I think hours of work is a part of this application since it's a PCD, and he needs to declare what his hours are. Can you answer that question?
That is correct, Director Wyrick. In our staff report, it does say 6 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. And that has been passed by the Planning Commission, which is site-specific, and those requirements stick.
Okay, and that's what I thought. And then the other piece of it was, I think the original sketches that I saw didn't reflect a fence around the property except for where the food court is. And, the applicant has made a gentleman's agreement with the church next door that they will fence the whole property. And so we need clarification from the applicant as to whether or not that's gonna happen. Now, I think you said the last time this came up that because it's changing zoning, they have to build a fence.
They have to separate this development, which would in essence be commercial, from residential, which the church is R2 property, it's CUP. So they would certainly have to buffer between that.
Okay.
Now, any other fencing that they've agreed to, I'm not aware of that, and I guess that's something that the
But that would
applicants will.
be, that should be a part of their application as well, if they're gonna do fencing. Is that correct?
They can agree to fencing, yes. Should it be part? It was complete fencing around the entire property, I don't believe was a part of the original application. I do believe that the buffering from the commercial to residential was.
Okay, but if they made that agreement, the applicant offered it up in order for that to us to make sure that it is done, they would have to state that in their application.
They could do more than what they had already agreed to. And at Planning Commission, they agreed to buffer from commercial to residential. I haven't heard anything about fencing of the entire property unless that you all have. Okay.
Okay, I just need that clarified.
Yes.
It
Director
makes a
Ward.
difference to the people next door.
If you want that to be binding, it's gonna have to be in the ordinance. If it's in the ordinance, they're gonna have to request it because evidently the application is less restrictive than having that provision. So that's something that would have to be done Tuesday night.
Well, this conversation, I think, is more for the applicant and the Little Rock Church because they had this gentleman's agreement to do that. And I said, unless it's in the application, then I can't guarantee it's gonna happen. So that's what that's about. Okay, Joan, you had some questions, didn't you?
Director Adcock?
Yes. Brad,
Yes, ma'am.
have you checked on Temple Baptist? I don't know if they have residential with their new school plan that they have going on out there. But I would like for you to check with Temple Baptist.
Okay.
To see if there's anything that they're doing that we need to be aware of with this application.
Yes, ma'am.
Also, all the questions I've asked about the food trucks and everything, I would like those answers since it's been 2 weeks to have them in writing, please.
Yes, ma'am. I have informed the applicants of that, of your
Okay.
request.
And then any changes that they have on their plan from what we have in our ordinance creating food trucks or food canteens or whatever. I'd like for you to highlight those for me too,
Yes, ma'am.
please. And Mayor, I'd like to make sure we have this separate. I think we'll have people here too that will want to talk on this.
All right. Next item.
All right, item number 20, which is Z10001-A. The applicant is requesting that the .69 acre property located at 9814 Davmar Drive be rezoned from R2 Single Family District to PDC Planned Development Commercial to recognize the current and historic use of the property with C4 permitted uses as alternative uses. The Planning Commission voted 8 yes, 0 no, 3 absent. Staff recommended approval on this. It's already, we're just recognizing what it's already being used as. So it's basically taking a non-conforming use and making it legal. Right. They're just trying to get everything straight. Item number, yes, ma'am. Item 23 is Z10010. The owner of the 55.8 acre property west of 5224 Stagecoach Road is requesting that the property be reclassified from R2 Single Family District to I1 Industrial Park District, MF12 Multifamily District, and OS Open Space District. The Planning Commission voted 7 yes, 0 no, and 4 were absent. Staff recommended approval on this. It's my understanding that the church wants to sell the property, and so they want to make it a little bit, they want to separate it out into certain segments, like the MF12. That's the place where the missionaries historically had stayed. So they're just dividing it out, and the OS, that is separating the Industrial 1 zone from the residential to the east. Yes. It's my understanding they're rezoning it to sell the property. Yes.
Believe, item 23.
That was item 23.
Oh, all right. We'll now go to Director Hines.
PJ, do you want that separate?
Thank you. One quick question, if staff could just get me an answer on Resolution 5. Sorry, Mayor, I was a little late, so there's something on consent agenda. On Resolution 5, can you verify that the engineering on this project, since it is designed per our drainage manual? I don't know, Public Works or Planning, I don't know. You don't have to tell me now, you can just verify and shoot me an email on it.
What do you mean by designed by our drainage manual?
I mean, is this project designed per our drainage manual, dealing with the creek and the water flow and all that stuff?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mayor, and this would be for Brad, the other two questions are on items. I know 11's been withdrawn, but item 11 and 13 are kind of related since they're both billboards. Mm-hmm. And maybe this is a question for Tom too. I've got some recollection in my mind that we have a limited number of billboards allowed in the city, period, because we did some work with Lamar Advertising several years ago. And so why are we seeing new billboards in new locations?
I believe that answer, Director Hines, is there are certain entities like Lamar and Custom Advertising who have currently, in the pot, they have certain billboards that they still can put in our city that is under that cap. This represents one of those. This is a Custom Advertising billboard.
Okay, so both of them are?
No, the other one was not. The other one was owned by another entity.
Okay.
That was within, under that limit, under that cap.
Okay. And so going as I read the write-up on 11, and then I saw the write-up on 13, there was we've got a rule, I guess, that we can't have one within 1,000 feet of another.
Yes, sir.
So is this new one that's going on at 12210 West Markham, is it more than 1,000 feet from the one that's at the corner of Bowman and West Markham?
Yes, sir. It does meet the requirements.
Okay. All right. I'm just curious that's, and then it's far enough away from Chenal Parkway that it's not messing with the design overlay.
Yes, and staff had originally recommended denial of this, and the applicant came back and they made some revisions to the site. They moved where the billboard was going to be. They worked with staff and they came up with a plan that we could support, and so this is the representative of that.
And so this billboard represents a billboard that's either a license that's either been acquired or not used by another outdoor advertising company?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right, seeing no other questions, we may be able to get out of here. Oh, Director Wyrick. Need,
Did I do it?
you got it. Just tap one time. Everybody just, as Director Hines said, just tap one time.
That's what I did. I'd like to hold item 23 separate. I'd like to visit with Tall Timber and Pecan Lake. I don't know that this is going to be a big deal for them, but I'd like for them to weigh in on item 23. So if we could leave it separate. And then also that item 19, I just want to make sure that it's separate as well, awaiting answers to questions.
All right, we'll make sure that 18, did I hear you correctly? 19,
19 and 23,
we'll make sure those are separate.
yeah.
Director Phillips.
Thank you, Mayor. This question for Director Honeywell. I know we talked about this a little bit, but I've had some more emails and questions from folks out in Ward 4 in preparation for the PGA. So can you just give us an update on the road work out there next to Pleasant Valley?
Certainly, Director Phillips, we actually got a revised schedule today from our contractor. The road should be substantially complete about a week prior to the beginning of the tournament. Of course, that's all, there's factors that come into that. But right now, the schedule and the plan is to have the road substantially complete, open to traffic. The final pavement surface and pavement markings should all be in place at that time. It'll be some of the other periphery items that may not be totally complete by that time. But that's our plan right now.
And I assume as part of that, we'll do some cleanup as we get closer to the finish line.
Certainly.
The project completion.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
We want it to look good for the tournament as well.
Thank you.
Director Warwick. You got to tap it again, Director Warwick. I'll just tap it one time, and then when I call on you, it'll get there. All right. You got it? There you go.
Okay, thank you. I'll learn how to do this one day. I serve as your liaison to the Planning Commission. I attended a meeting Thursday night, and there was an item that was brought up, and it has to do with the MS4 permit that's going to expire this year, which has to do with our stormwater, ADEQ requirements, federal requirements, state requirements. A lot of word salad here because I don't understand what all is going to happen. But the Planning Commission took a vote on it, but I think it was 5-5. And so it comes to the board for us to make a decision on what to do. The development community has some concerns. They're thinking it's going to add a lot of money, a lot of cost to their housing efforts. And so what I think ought to happen, and I think you already have a plan in place, Mayor, as we talked a little bit earlier, and I've talked to Bradley Jordan. He has 2 first names. It's hard for me to know which one comes first. About what maybe we ought to do, and that is to set up a group of folks to look at this. It's a very complex issue, and the impact that it could have on the city. We need to have some eyes on it and some thoughts on it and some real knowledge as to what this plan is, but we have to have it done by the end of the year. And so in order to expedite the resolution to what we're going to do, it's been sent to the board for us to make a decision. So maybe you have some more information that you want to add, but I just want to introduce the topic to the board that it is coming up, and we've got to make some decisions about it. So that's it.
Thank you, Director Warwick, and also to the planning team who've been working on this for the better part, maybe a year, 2 years. So it's not a new subject. With anything, with public meetings, there can always be better public meetings. There were 7 or 8, at least 10 meetings, I can't remember the actual number, that have gone before the public. And then there were some additional meetings that at the request, I actually want to say at the request of Director Hines, there was some additional meetings. So there's been public input. I believe, just for awareness, I know Director Warwick knows everything I'm saying, and I believe Director Hines. After those required meetings that happened in the public and the additional meeting at the request of Director Hines happened, it then goes through the planning and development process as in a review. Our planning commission reviewed it and then deferred taking action on it for about a month. And so planning staff recommended for them to take a vote on it instead of deferring again, because the board should be aware if we don't have this done by a certain particular time, we get a costly monthly payment that we have to give by not having our MSO 14. And so what I've asked, because with anything, just because we have public meetings, we know some people only check in when it's getting close to a decision sometime, because it's been going on for 2 years. That being stated, I've asked and been working with the chamber, and they've reached out as well. We're going to pull together a developer community meeting with staff and asking Director Warwick, since she is the planning and development liaison, to be a part of that process as we kind of work through it. Again, I want to make sure everyone's clear. As we know, with anything, there's never a perfect plan, but this is, again, another effort to make certain that we're talking with everyone as we still approach this process. But I do want to assure the board that this has been going on for about 2 years from that process. Director Hines? And Director Hines, if we need to set up a separate meeting with you, we can get that done as well.
No, that's fine. I think that's good news. As I've had some folks in my ear from the development community, I think it gives me great concern, and this is my comment to staff, that we picked a stormwater discharge plan for a city that has a much higher, greater rate of development than we do. And it's my understanding that we don't even have the draft copy of what ADEQ wants from us in this. So we're proposing something that may exceed what ADEQ requires us to do. And and here's the implications. We talk about this in these big terms with these acronyms. It draws down to, can we do and can we build affordable housing in this town? These are the backdoor ways that drive development costs up, that cause us not to be able to build affordable housing even if we want to, because of us getting the cart before the horse on something we're doing. And the drums have been getting louder, and we paid an engineering company $400,000 to do this, to go out and have public engagement. And when we pay somebody that kind of money, we should expect them to do their job. And I'm waiting on items. I sent a request yesterday. I want to see the details in the documents on those public meetings, how many people were there, and what do we pay this engineering firm for? And I think that's kind of the crux of what's going on. And I don't like being, and we've all talked about this, I don't like being in a position where you got to do this or else. When we've had 2 years to be working on this, and there's been some voices in the wilderness saying, hey guys, you might want to consider this, that, and the other. And maybe now that we've got a new regime in planning, maybe we'll start listening a little better. But, and I will just say that, and this predates something that goes back to when I first got on the board, and somebody at administrative level went in and changed the stormwater drainage manual at a staff level, didn't tell any of the people that they regulate or that they're going to, or neighborhood associations that had stormwater detention facilities, that they were now responsible for them. And this comes back to good government and good governance as a regulator. And I've said this, and I know I've shared it with Brad, and I shared it with Jamie. When you're the regulator, most everybody that does development in this city knows what the rules are. If something changes and you're going to start enforcing something in a different way, or the rules change, most people are good with it. It's when they get caught in the 11th hour and surprise, 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 we're doing something different. We need to do a better job of communicating what the rules are going to be in a manner that everyone understands it, so I don't get these phone calls, God, they're doing this, that, and the other, and on one hand, yeah, we're in the right, but we've gone about enforcing it in the wrong way. And what this gets back to. We don't want to be sitting in a position a year from now where these changes, and if ADEQ is supposed to give us, it's my understanding, kind of the general rules of the road of what they want to see in our permit, and we may be agreeing to something on our own that we don't have to agree to that might drive up lot costs $10,000 or $15,000 a lot, or an acre, or whatever metric goes into building, and that goes directly into being able to build affordable housing in our city. It's not just the western areas of the city, it's all over the city.
Yeah.
And the big issue is our rate of growth in this city is not near what it is in Fayetteville, Rogers, and Bentonville. So to use something from up there that have a whole different set of issues and a much faster rate of development, they've got differences in their watershed and the Illinois River and other things going over there, to try to use a cookie cutter approach does not seem correct to me. And that's kind of my 2 cents worth. And hopefully we can get everybody in the same room and get this, because it's been done before. It was done, whatever, 15, 20 years ago, last time we had to do it. So that's my 2 cents. Thanks.
And Lance, that was at the Planning Commission, that was the angst from the commission, was that we don't want to do anything that's going to hamper affordable housing and housing in the city of Little Rock. And there were several developers there that are willing to help with this situation. And I'm like you, I think we asked if there was if we had the request for the permit, what was in the permit, and we were told by the contractor that we didn't have it. So it was a lot of word salad, not really understanding exactly what our goal was. But the Planning Commission was strong in saying that they didn't want this to stymie any development in the city. And so that, I think that's, after talking with Brad and talking to some of the developers, I mean, that's what our goal is not to do that. And we just need to come together and understand what the rules are so we can decide what it is that we need to do.
Thank you both, and totally get with both Director Warwick and Director Hines. Again, I want to share, there's always multiple sides to a story. I would like for Brad to get with Director Hines, go in those details. We're not going to spend time on ADEQ and what someone heard and didn't hear correctly, because a lot of times that can get lost in translation or create word salad. But Bradley, if you will get with Director Hines, I think you may be able to give him a little bit more, I like the word salad as well, more color with Director Hines, because a lot of times folks may say certain things to board members and not give them the full picture. Not saying that's what happened, but you can give him the facts on the ADEQ standpoint. I think we all agree we don't want to hamper, we don't want to create any affordable housing issue, because we already got 25,000 issues as it relates to affordable housing in the entire city. But also to board members, one of the things I do want to encourage, as we have more of these types of meetings, we know they can be mundane, they can be boring, but we are communicating for them to be out there. They have happened for 2 years, so it's not a rush. It's just sometimes, I think we all know, in our own individual town hall meetings, many people don't check in until it's really time to make a decision. That's the reason why I want to credit Bradley for pushing through to even get us to this point, because if we didn't, we would be bringing it to you, Director Hines, at the nth hour. And so now we got opportunity, because it does set a clock for the city board as well as the city, so we don't get into any costly issues. And that's the reason why I've asked Bradley, alongside members from the chamber, bringing some folks with the developers and getting Director Warwick to be a part of that process. And so, Director Hines, if we need to schedule a separate meeting, particularly with your ward, we want to get that done. Not necessarily with your ward, but we know your ward has a lot more development divisions, and we get that. And so we'll do something separate, because the two of you all can't be in the meeting together. But we'll get that together. Director Adcock, is your hand still up? Or was it?
We had another garbage truck that caught fire, and I noticed that Mr. Hinton's here. I was one director that got telephone calls this weekend about no garbage pickup, and I tried to explain to them, but they don't want to hear it. They've heard it now for several weeks, and they want their trash picked up.
Right.
Also, I'm told that we still have young men, and no young women, but young men falling behind garbage trucks, the old-timey ones, where you have to pick up the can physically and dump it. Now, some of the trucks have those hooks on it that helps them, but we have people having to pick up garbage truck cans, and we know some people really put everything in the garbage can, and they're having to dump them physically. And I would like to know when we are going to get some new garbage trucks or some help with garbage trucks.
I think we've shared before, as we've shared with Director Webb, there's a point in time where all the garbage trucks may be fixed and on the road, and we can't control when a garbage truck blows up, just like when a fire truck blew up a few months ago. But we have an enterprise fund that we got to consider looking at. We do know Director Webb, working with her amendment, I believe, with Director Hines. We have in the sales tax some additional money for garbage trucks. But the only way to get new garbage trucks is looking at the enterprise fund, short of the sales tax. Short of if we get to a point where we have a surplus at the end of this year. Again, those are all Band-Aids until we look at the enterprise fund.
Well, I understand that there is a company that rents garbage trucks. Have we checked into that?
I think at the last meeting, Public Works is looking at some different things. I know Grant Cox is as far as just a strategy, but again, even if we rent, that's a Band-Aid. We can look at all that.
Mayor, you say the end of the year, that's several months off, and people are not going to put up with their garbage not being picked up.
I can promise you one thing. If they have a garbage not picked up on X day, if for whatever reason, it will be picked up the next day. If not that evening, we work to get that done. There are some anomalies that happen. I mean, we have about 60,000 households, so I don't expect each one. I do expect each one to be picked up. I want to be very clear. However, we can't control when a garbage truck blows up. We just can't. That creates an issue, and you pivot, and we work through that. But if we want to create a long-term fleet replacement, the city board looked at this in 2019, and you all made a decision. We're saying again, it's time to look at it again. Everyone else around us have looked at increasing costs. I know no one wants to do that, but that's the answer. We just can't. Sales tax, which we have included, but even with that, I had a visit with Director Webb. And John would tell you that $3 million is great, but he needs that revolving. So, because that probably will take care of maybe 2 trucks. Mm-hmm. No? About 6 or 7. Well, I'll get 6 or 7.
Okay, we'll take 6 or 7 right now.
But that's one time. That's our point. This one time. We got to create a fleet replacement.
Well,
Again.
let me ask you the question that the last lady asked me. Mm-hmm. Somebody tipped over her. Some neighbor got off the street a little bit over the weekend and tipped over hers. It's all over the street. Who's going to pick it up?
Call me and I'll go there.
Okay. You want to give your phone number so they can
Please
call
do.
you?
I'm not too clean to get dirty.
Because they now are, getting hit by automobiles or kids knocking them over and everything.
I think, again, that's the reason why, for instance, now, if I don't mind going there, I'll be very honest on that. But also, if someone's calling you about every time a kid kicks over that, I mean, our folks are there to go pick up the trash on that day. That's just an anomaly as well.
Okay. Well, some of them sit over the weekend and.
Just send it to me. I'll go by and pick it up.
Okay. I'll tell them to call your office.
912-3955.
Okay, thank you.
You're in, Director Phillips, then Director, I'll take.
Thank you, Mayor, and I appreciate the discussion you and Director Adcock had. I wasn't on the board in 2019, so if there's some, and I don't know if this is a question for Emily or Tom, but if there was some information about the enterprise fund that was considered by the board back in 2019, can we get a copy of that? Okay. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, if you can get that to me.
It was, I think, if my memory is right, it's like $3 or $4 maybe, $3 or $4.
Yeah, I wasn't part of that conversation, so I'd like to have the information since this has come up multiple times. And then second, Mayor, while I guess we have a couple minutes, any idea when we will commence the 2025 budget talks?
Yes, and then I'll go to Director Webb. Again, we can get that study. I think it was like $3 on that standpoint, and so we'll figure that out. And then we have our internal budget meetings to kind of get things situated. I believe August 28th to 29th. So I think by the time we get there, we also got to do personnel study and look at health insurance. But we are shooting for the middle of September, if not the last week of September. So between that time period.
Okay. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Webb.
Thank you, Mayor. Wasn't there, I guess this is to Acting Manager Cox, a fair amount of that information in that memo that we got 2 weeks ago on the, yeah.
Director, you trying to make me look bad? It did not have the rate study, and I was asking about the rate study. Right, but I want the full thing. Thank you, Vice Mayor Webb.
Y'all are funny today. All right, I think that's it. Director Adcock, is your hand still up? Okay, all right. Man, meeting adjourned.